I must have lost my mind. Why else would I, drunk on cheap courage, try to steal a kiss from the man asleep on the sofa? The one I've worshipped from the shadows for 10 years. Every inch of me trembled. My heart hammered like it was about to detonate. Just as my lips were a breath away from his, he opened his eyes. Black, unblinking, nighttime eyes, those of a predator poised to spring. He smiled, voice rough as gravel. That's all the guts you've got. I must have been brain-fried by booze. Only that could explain the defiance it took to commit the most outrageous act of my life. I crouched like a prowler, inching toward the sofa. Adrian lay there, fresh from an exclusive whiskey tasting, skin still carrying the chill of top-shelf spirits. Beneath that lingered his own scent, cold cedar, immaculate and distant. He was asleep, breathing softly, long lashes throwing tiny shadows across his cheekbones. With those razor-sharp eyes hidden, he looked almost human, the usual disdain scrubbed away. I knelt, heart jackhammering so loud I feared it would leap straight out of my throat. This was Adrian. Riverdale's crown prince, the heir every magazine profile groveled over. Since childhood he'd been the gold-plated other kid on every report card, god-tier looks, terrifying intellect, a corporate empire already purring under his fingertips. And me, Mia, the chauffeur, the timid shadow who'd trailed him since pigtails. Loving him in secret had been my decade-long religion. I sucked in a lungful of liquid courage. Today the secret would graduate into fact. Eyes squeezed shut, I leaned in. His breath, his scent, crashed over me in sheets. Closer, closer. The instant my lips almost brushed his, a low, laughing growl detonated above me. Mia, that's the size of your courage? My eyes snapped open. I collided with twin pools of ink. He was awake, had never been asleep. My mind imploded to static. Game over. Peak social death achieved. Only one impulse remained, run. I straightened to bolt, but an iron grip clamped around my wrist. Unbreakable. Adrian sat up, composed, mirth darkening his gaze. Running already? My tongue knotted. There was a mosquito on your face, I was going to slap it. Even I didn't buy that garbage. He merely arched a brow, calling no bluff, and tugged. One yank, and I toppled straight into his arms. Brain fried. Every breath tasted of him. Adrian, what are you? Helping you remember. He chuckled, fingers tilting my chin. You were planning this, weren't you? Pinned against him, I couldn't budge. His thumb scorched, calloused pad rasping my jaw, sending sparks skittering beneath my skin. I stared at the face I'd traced 1,000 times inside my sketchbooks, heart sprinting. I wasn't. The protest disintegrated. He looked unbearably amused, hunter toying with snared prey. Still lying. He dipped slowly. I slammed my eyes shut. No kiss landed. Instead, hot forehead met mine, his breath licked my skin. Mia, he rasped. If you want to kiss me, just say so, skip the cloak and dagger. Mortification threatened to incinerate me on the spot. This was worse than the kiss itself. I yelped. Fine. Abruptly he released me. Relief swept in, until the world flipped. He scooped me into a bridal carry. I shrieked and locked arms around his neck. Adrian, put me down. He ignored me, striding to the picture window. Beyond the glass, pre-dawn city lights glittered like scattered diamonds, utterly irrelevant. Because Adrian pressed me against the chilled pane. Ice seeped through my blouse, I gasped. Arms caged me, dominion claimed. He bent, lips grazing my ear, breath molten. Can't run now. Mia, let me teach you. A feather-light brush of his mouth across my earlobe liquefied my knees. Teach you what a kiss really is. The sentence had barely fallen when he sealed my mouth with his. The kiss was nothing my fantasies had scripted. Zero tenderness, pure conquest, invasion, years of restraint detonating at once. He pried my lips apart, stormed every barrier, allowed no oxygen. Residual alcohol ignited. I melted, liquefied, clinging to his shoulders for vertical support. The skyline behind him blurred, smeared by tears of overload. I was flotsam in a typhoon, powerless. When he finally let me breathe, it was fractional. Lips still brushing, breaths braided. Got it, he murmured, thumb swiping my swollen lower lip with indecent gentleness. My CPU was toast, I gaped. Storm clouds gathered in his gaze, fathomless. Need another lesson? He angled in again. I panicked, shoved hard. I learned. He stepped back, unbothered, fishing a cigarette from his pocket. Ember flared, painting hollows on his face unreadable beneath exhaled smoke. Really? A lazy ring of smoke curled. Explain what you learned, then. My mouth opened, no sound. What could I possibly say? That he kissed me boneless? That a decade-long crush had just paid off in nuclear fashion? Cowardice clamped my tongue. I am, above all, an arch-coward. Around a celestial like Adrian, my courage had discharged its only shot in that bungled sneak attack. I'm going home, I whispered to the floor. Home? He stubbed the cigarette. I'll drive you. No, it erupted out of me. I needed solitude, distance, a hard reset on tonight's events. He studied me, silent stretching. Okay, he finally said. Take care. I fled, purse clutched like a shield, unable to look back. One glance and his gravitational pull would reel me in again. Inside my shoebox studio, I sagged against the door, lungs rattling. My fingertips grazed still tingling lips imprinted with his taste. I stood there forever, then made a decision, run. Run from the city that housed him. I bought a dawn train ticket to my hometown, packed in haste. Mom called amid the chaos. Mia, Johnson found you a date, civil servant, steady salary, nice kid. Coffee this weekend. Usually I'd dodge, tonight I heard myself accept. Sure. She hesitated, shocked. Really? You feeling okay? Yep. I crammed the last t-shirt in. Time to get serious about settling down. I hung up, stared at the black window. Goodbye, Adrian. I'm out of your league. Safer to sever the delusion and crawl back to my own stratum. Back home the air tasted lazy, syrupy. Mom glowed, fussing nonstop. Saturday she dolled me up and paraded me to the corner cafe. Enter David, wire-rim glasses, plaid shirt, mild manners to match. He asked about work. I said freelance illustrator. He nodded approvingly. Nice, not too stressful. Stability matters for women. Conversation ambled, lukewarm yet polite. I stirred my latte, chanting inwardly. Forget Adrian. This is the peaceful life you're built for. Then the door chimed. Instinct lifted my gaze, and I froze. Adrian, charcoal overcoat, black cashmere roll neck, travel rumpled, eyes rimmed red from what looked like a sleepless night. Even exhausted, he commanded light, like a spotlight obeyed only him. His scan was swift, his gaze speared me. Ice crackled down my spine. David followed my line of sight. Friend of yours? Before I could lie, Adrian stalked forward, each stride a drumbeat on my ribcage. He halted at our table, towering, eyes arctic. Mia, he clipped, voice sub-zero. Having fun? My scalp prickled with static. David clearly hadn't read the room. He stood up and, ever polite, asked Adrian. Hi, may I ask who you are? Adrian didn't even spare him a sideways glance. His eyes, from the moment he walked in, were welded to me. Come outside with me, he ordered. We're in the middle of. I'll say it once more, he cut in, impatience already sharpening his voice. Outside. David's brows drew together. Sir, that's kind of rude, don't you think? Only then did Adrian finally grant him a look. It was a look dripping with contempt. I'm talking to my girlfriend, he said, each word falling from his thin lips like ice chips. How is that any of your damn business? Girlfriend? Both David and I froze. When had I ever become his girlfriend? David's face drained of color. You're talking nonsense. Mia, what is this? I had no words. How could I explain? Tell him we weren't a couple. Except that 2 nights ago I'd stolen a kiss from him while he was half asleep? Adrian obviously wasn't going to wait for my explanation. He simply bent down, clamped a hand around my wrist, and yanked me to my feet. The force nearly toppled me. I staggered and almost fell. Adrian, let go of me. I yanked back, panicking. We were in public. People were staring. Let go. He gave a cold laugh, and then right there in front of everyone, he did something that left me gaping. He hoisted me over his shoulder. Like I was a sack of rice. My mind went blank. Adrian, you lunatic. Put me down. I kicked and thrashed, pummeling his rock-hard back with my fists, futile as swatting mosquitoes. He didn't even register my struggles or the shouts behind us. He simply marched out of the corner cafe with me dangling over his shoulder. The cold wind outside slapped some sense back into me. Humiliation crashed over me in waves. I had never been so mortified in my life. He stuffed me into the passenger seat of a black Bentley. The door slammed shut. He circled to the driver's side, climbed in, and hit the central lock in one fluid motion. I curled against the door, staring at his storm-dark profile, afraid to breathe. The air inside the car felt ready to detonate. He fired the engine and floored the accelerator. The car shot forward like a bullet. I clutched the seat belt in a death grip. Adrian, where are you taking me? Silence. Only the frantic growl of the motor. I watched the city blur past, dread pooling in my stomach. After what felt like forever, the car screeched to a stop in an unfamiliar, desolate spot, an abandoned warehouse district. He cut the engine, plunging us into dead quiet. At last he turned to me. His eyes were a tangle of fury and something wounded I couldn't decode. Mia, he bit out syllable by syllable. Kiss and run, huh? I didn't. A scornful laugh tore from his throat as he lunged across the console. Both hands slapped against my seat back, caging me again. That familiar suffocating closeness made my heart skip. You vanished, ignored my calls, blocked me on iMessage. Then you hightailed it to your hometown to date some other guy? Each accusation came with another inch of shrinking distance. Finally our noses almost touched. Mia, who taught you that stunt? My rules, did you forget them? I swallowed hard. What rules? He curved his lips in a smile both icy and hungry. My rule, payback with interest. His words cracked like thunder in my ears. Payback with interest? What was he planning? Before I could guess, his mouth crashed onto mine. Harder, fiercer than last time, a punishment rather than a kiss. My head spun. The only sounds I could make were muffled whimpers. His hand slipped under my coat. Cold fingertips met warm skin, and I jolted as though zapped. No, don't. I managed to gasp, turning my face away. We were in a car. It wasn't even dark outside. How dare he? Don't. He paused, forehead burning against mine, breath ragged. Twin fires blazed in his eyes, threatening to incinerate me. Now you're scared. When you left me alone in that apartment and ran, weren't you scared? When you sat there laughing with that plaid shirt guy, weren't you scared? His voice cracked, packed with grievance and accusation. I stared, stunned. Grievance? Adrian could feel grievance? Shouldn't I be the one crying unfair? The rims of his eyes were red, and something tender inside me twisted. It actually hurt. Adrian, we were wrong for each other, I forced out. Wrong how? He barked a humorless laugh. Which part? Our families, our backgrounds, everything is different. I'm the chauffeur, you're the almighty crown prince. We don't live in the same universe. Those words had been buried in my heart for years. They were the unbridgeable chasm I'd always seen. I expected the usual mocking smirk, the lecture about overthinking. Instead he just looked at me, long silent, until I thought he would give up. Then, out of nowhere, he asked, Mia, that painting you gave me senior year, do you still have it? I blinked, thrown. It was my 18th birthday gift, the boldest move I'd ever made. A portrait of him, a sunlit boy in a white shirt. He had accepted it without comment. I'd assumed he'd tossed it ages ago. Probably gone, I whispered. It's hanging, he said, eyes locked on mine. In my private study. A jolt shot through me. And that's not all. His gaze sank deeper, layered with emotions I couldn't read. Every single thing you gave me, even a scrap of note, still exists. The stick figure doodle freshman year, the puppy sketch sophomore year, the painting of me senior year. Every quick sketch you slipped into my car through college. Mia, he pressed my palm to his chest, his heart raced beneath my fingers. I've waited 10 years. From the first time you looked at me with those bright eyes, I waited. Waited for my girl to grow up. Waited for her to walk toward me without fear. Know what I got instead? A self-mocking smile tugged at his lips, agony etched in every line. I got you turning around to meet some blind date. Tell me, Mia, exactly who's unworthy of whom? My brain blue-screened. What did he say? He'd waited 10 years? Impossible. I must have misheard. What did you say? My voice quivered. I said I like you. His gaze drilled into mine, each word ringing clear. Long before you liked me. The world as I knew it flipped upside down. This wasn't the script. It was supposed to be my hopeless one-sided crush ending in lonely defeat. Yet here he was, claiming he'd waited a decade. No way, I blurted. You clearly told me you only saw me as a little sister. I'd heard it myself. The week we graduated high school, I'd hidden behind the study door and eavesdropped on him and his buddy. The friend had teased. So, you into that Mia kid? My heart had been a drumroll. Then Adrian had chuckled, lazy and dismissive. Mia, just a kid, a tag-along. I don't think of her like that. Extra little sister, maybe. That sentence had driven a blade through me and doused every foolish spark. From that day I'd kept my distance, busting my butt to get into a top college just to run farther, faster. Sure, time would scrub the ache clean. I never imagined the race would circle back to the starting line. Hearing my accusation, Adrian's brows knotted. When the hell did I spout that garbage? Right after graduation, in your home's private study. I shot back, recounting every detail. When I finished, he went quiet, expression a kaleidoscope of regret, exasperation, and homicidal irritation. Mia, he groaned, rubbing his temples. Are you dense? I planted those words for a specific audience. Didn't you notice? I gaped. Audience. My mother, he snapped. She was hovering outside the door about to barge in. I said it for her ears. Huh. You know Mom, control freak deluxe. She'd already blueprint my life, fiancé pre-selected. If I'd confessed I liked you, guess how she'd have retaliated? He held my gaze, fear flickering in his own. She'd have yanked you out of my reach, shipped you somewhere I could never find. I couldn't risk that. So I fed her that line to keep her off your back. Didn't you hear what I added right after? What did you add? I asked, completely lost. Adrian sighed, the sound of a man who'd run out of arguments with me. He lifted his hand and tucked the stray strands of hair from my forehead behind my ear. The gesture so gentle it didn't seem real. I said, I have to take care of her for the rest of my life. I thought you understood. My heart gave a violent quiver. Take care of for the rest of my life. I repeated in a daze. I had heard him that day, but I'd convinced myself it was only the responsibility an older brother feels toward a little sister. Charity, pity. Not. When I said take care of for the rest of my life, Adrian cut through my thoughts, eyes blazing. I meant, on the household register, taking care of you for life. Boom, my mind went white again. On the household register. Wasn't that a proposal? Adrian, you bastard. How could you drop a bombshell like that in such a calm, offhand tone? I stared at him, my eyes instantly reddened. 10 years of secret love. 10 years of misunderstanding. 10 years of wrestling with myself, and with pain. Right now, the clouds finally parted. So I hadn't been acting in a one-woman show. So the star I'd cupped in my hands had been up in the sky all along, quietly watching me. I couldn't hold it back any longer. Teardrops slipped down like loose pearls. I cried. Not from grievance, not from sorrow, but from excitement, from joy. The moment Adrian saw me cry, he panicked. Hey, why are you crying? Mia, don't cry. It's my fault, I didn't make it clear, I'm an idiot. He wiped my tears in a flurry. Where was the aloof Riverdale prince now? He looked exactly like a big dog that knew it had done wrong and didn't know how to fix it. Watching his clumsiness, I sobbed and laughed at the same time. I reached out and wrapped my arms around his neck, burying my head in the crook of his throat. Adrian, my voice thick with congestion. You big fool. His body stiffened for a second, then he hugged me back so hard it felt as though he wanted to press me into his bones. Yeah, I'm a fool, he whispered hoarsely beside my ear. Making you wait so long. The air in the car turned tender because of that embrace. All the earlier tension vanished without a trace. I held him, breathing in the familiar scent of him, feeling a peace I'd never known. So this was what it felt like to poke through that paper window. It was as if the heavy stone that had been hanging in my chest finally dropped to the ground. Then, I murmured against his chest. When did it start? What start? He asked, all innocence. You know, liking me. My ears burned as I said it. Adrian chuckled, the vibration of his chest brushing against me, tingling. Forgotten. I tipped my head up. I can't pick the exact day. He pinched my cheek. Probably the first time you marched up clutching that ugly stick-figure doodle, proudly announcing, Adrian, big brother, this is for you. Right then I thought, this little thing is adorable. Wanted to keep her in my pocket my whole life, show her to no one. His sweet words always ambush me. My cheeks were on fire. I buried my face again. That wasn't a stick figure. I mumbled. That was my first drawing of you. Really? He grinned wider. So in your mind I look like a matchstick. Jerk. I thumped him. He caught my hand and brushed a soft kiss across my knuckles. All right, enough teasing. He turned serious. Now that the misunderstanding is cleared up, can we talk about your blind date? My heart thudded. Here came the reckoning. That was, my mom forced me. I flung the blame instantly. Oh, Adrian raised an eyebrow. She forced you, so you went. Aye. And dressed up so nicely. He sounded jealous. And laughed and joked with the guy. Mia, I drove through the night without stopping, hadn't swallowed a bite, and the first thing I see is you flirting with another man. Tell me, how should I punish you? He leaned in, his gaze turning dangerous again. I shrank back nervously. What are you planning? What do you think? His eyes flicked to my lips. My face exploded in crimson. This man's brain is stuffed with that stuff. No, I refused firmly. Why not? My lips are swollen. I accused. All because of his kissing just now. Adrian glanced down, then burst out laughing. They really were red, like ripe cherries. His Adam's apple bobbed, his eyes darkened. Then switch locations. Huh, I hadn't caught up. The next second a cool sensation brushed my neck. He was kissing my throat. Light scattered kisses, feather soft and electric, spread from my neck to every inch of me. My whole body melted. Adrian, stop. My voice shook. Don't move. His tone was husky. Let me stamp my seal. Proof of whose girl you are now. By the time he finally relented, I felt limp. I collapsed against the seat, gulping air. My throat wore a patch of crimson marks, blatant evidence. I couldn't even imagine facing people tomorrow. Adrian, content, lounged back with a smug smile, like a cat that had stolen the cream. Now the whole world knows you're mine, he declared. I shot him a weak glare. Hawthorne, don't you want even a shred of dignity? What do I need dignity for? He pecked my cheek. Having you is enough. This man. After we made it official, he maxed out the smooth talk skill tree. Why hadn't I noticed before how irresistible he is? I'm hungry. He rubbed his stomach and gave me a pitiful look. Only then did I remember. He'd driven all night and hadn't eaten. My heart ached instantly. Then let's go eat. Okay. He started the engine. What do you feel like? Anything. Then let's hit that candied yuzu fish stew place you love. I blinked. That tiny hole in the wall back in my hometown. I'd taken him only once, the summer he came home from senior year. To think he still remembered. The feeling of being treasured made my heart soft and sweet. When we walked in, the owner recognized us. Oh, little Mia. Is this your boyfriend? Handsome thing. My face flushed. Before I could respond, Adrian admitted it openly, smiling. Annie has good eyes. I'm her boyfriend, Adrian. Then naturally he laced his fingers through mine, right in front of her. My palms started sweating instantly, half from nerves, half from bliss. During the meal he kept piling food into my bowl, carefully deboning every piece of fish before setting it in front of me, gentle beyond words. Watching him focus on picking out bones, my heart filled with emotion. Who could picture the formidable CEO of Hawthorne showing this domestic side? And only to me. After dinner he drove me home. At the foot of my building, I unbuckled, ready to hop out. I'm here. He answered but didn't unlock the door. I looked at him in confusion. Aren't you going to invite me up? He cocked a brow. Huh. I froze. It's so late, that's not a good idea, is it? Mom and Dad are both home. What's wrong with that? He claimed righteously. The ugly daughter-in-law must meet her in-laws sooner or later, and this handsome son-in-law ought to meet his future father and mother-in-law. His father and mother-in-law fried my brain. Adrian, stop that. Matters of time, he said, dead sure. No. I stood firm. It's too late today, they're asleep. Next time, I'll bring you over next time. He studied me without speaking. Just when I thought he'd back off, he suddenly asked, Mia, aren't you forgetting something? What? He tapped his cheek. Give me a kiss. Reward for my overnight charge to set things right. Me. The guy keeps pushing his luck. I stared at his handsome face inches away, and the anticipation in his eyes. My heart weakened in spite of itself. I leaned in and pecked his cheek lightning fast, like a chick pecking grain. Happy now. He seemed unsatisfied but didn't push further. Fine. He finally pressed the unlock button. Up you go, sleep early. I jumped out and practically fled. Inside the stairwell, I could still feel his gaze trailing me. Only when the light in my apartment window came on did the black Bentley downstairs glide away. I leaned against the window, watching the taillights disappear, a smile I couldn't smother on my lips. So this is what being in love feels like. So sweet it seems like a dream. The next morning I woke to Mom's roar. Mia, get out here now. I shuffled out groggy. Mom, it's early, what's wrong? Mom pointed at my neck, shaking with rage. What is this? I looked down and remembered the evidence Adrian had left. I'm doomed. Overnight the marks had darkened and grown even clearer. Mom, let me explain. Explain what? You and that David, did you two yesterday? She was so furious she couldn't finish. I waved my hands frantically. It wasn't him. Not David. Then who? And right then I had no idea how I was going to explain. The doorbell rang. My dad went to open it. Standing on the doorstep was Adrian, arms piled with shopping bags and a brilliant smile on his face. Hello, Mr. and Summers, he said politely. I'm Mia's boyfriend, Adrian. Sorry to barge in unannounced. My parents stared, stunned. I stared too. Why was he here? And so early? Mom finally found her voice, finger darting from Adrian to me. You two. Adrian strolled over and slipped an arm around my shoulders like it was the most natural thing in the world. Aunt Rose, the mark on Mia's neck? My doing. He confessed with startling candor. I'm serious about her, marriage serious. So I got a little carried away. I hope you'll forgive me. Mom's expression spun from shock to bewilderment to ecstasy. Adrian? From the Hawthorns. Yes, ma'am, he said with a nod. My father is Victor. My dad had driven for Victor for over 20 years. My parents knew Adrian inside out. They just never imagined their daughter had snagged Riverdale's crown prince. Winning the lottery sounded more plausible. Mom flipped 180. She grabbed Adrian's hand, grinning ear to ear. Oh, it's you, Summers Yen. Come in, come in. Have you eaten? I already had breakfast, Aunt Rose. Nonsense, you'll eat again. Mia, hurry, ladle him some porridge. Me. Mom, your emotional pivot could break the sound barrier. 1 minute ago you wanted to murder me. Breakfast was a minefield. Mom treated him like the son she never had, heaping food on his plate, firing off questions, work, family, future plans. Adrian fielded every one so smoothly my parents were floating on cloud 9. Afterward, Dad hauled him to the balcony for a man-to-man. Mom yanked me into the bedroom for interrogation. You little rascal. When did this start with Summers Yen? Why didn't you breathe a word? Just recently. I squeaked. How recent? She pressed. How far has it gone? She finished with a wink that said, you know exactly what I mean. My cheeks combusted. Mom, stop. We're totally innocent. Innocent, she pointed at my neck. This is innocent. Me. I could jump in the yellow river and still not rinse this clean. When Adrian came back from the balcony, Dad's glare had melted into something suspiciously like admiration. Dad's seal of approval granted. Before leaving, Adrian announced in front of both of them, Mia, come back to Boston with me. Not a question, a statement. That cramped art studio of yours needs upgrading. I rented you a place right across from my penthouse. You paint, I work, we don't get in each other's hair. When I clock out, I'll cook for you. He'd scripted every scene. Every detail locked. My parents' eyes lit up like Times Square. Go, right now. Don't you dare delay him. Mom was ready to shove me into his car herself. I looked at Adrian. The tenderness and steel in his gaze left me zero room to refuse. The man always makes me happily dance to his rhythm. So just like that, he kidnapped me back to Boston. The new studio really was huge. 2 floors plus a rooftop garden. Clean, lightwood decor, perfect light. Best part, it sat directly across from Adrian's building. I could see straight into his living room from my window. Like it? He asked, wrapping his arms around me from behind, chin on my shoulder. Love it. I breathed. But it must cost a fortune. Money spent on you isn't expensive, he murmured, kissing my cheek. It's investment. Investment? Yup, he chuckled. An investment in our future home. My heart turned to syrup again. Adrian in formal mode could charm dictators. In flirt mode he liquefied my knees. A certified demon. I settled into the new studio. Life slid into a sweet, unfamiliar gear. Every morning he brought breakfast, stole a kiss, then headed to the office. At noon, food deliveries arrived like clockwork. Evening, he dragged me across the street to cook dinner. Shockingly good cook. Wouldn't surprise me if he'd done a secret culinary boot camp. After dinner we'd cuddle, watch a movie. Or he'd work while I sketched beside him. Domestic bliss. But calm surfaces hide undercurrents. The ripple? Vivian, one of Adrian's childhood friends. Real debutante, gorgeous pedigree. Everyone insisted she and Adrian were preordained. I used to believe it too. She first appeared one weekend night. Adrian was making cola-glazed wings in the kitchen. I hugged a pillow on the sofa, waiting for food. Doorbell. He answered. Vivian stood there, dressed for a gala, radiant smile launching. Adrian. I just flew in from Paris. Brought you something. Then she spotted me in loungewear curled on the couch. Her smile froze. Who's this? She asked, eyes sharpening. Adrian glanced back and drew me to his side, casual, possessive. Let me introduce, he told her, voice cool, unshakable. Mia, my girlfriend. Vivian's face drained of color. The Hermes bag in her hand crumpled under white knuckles. Girlfriend. She looked at him, stunned. Seriously? She's your family's chauffeur. The words dripped disdain, elite to her bones. My stomach lurched. I tried to pull away. Adrian only held tighter. Vivian, watch your mouth. My girlfriend is none of your business. Vivian flushed, then paled, then flushed again. You're talking to me like this for her sake. Tears brimmed. After all these years. Years of what? He scoffed. Our parents golfed together. Hardly makes us soulmates. He crushed every shred of face she had left. Brutal. Even I winced. Vivian hadn't expected that slap. Tears fell as she screamed. Adrian, you bastard. She hurled the gift to the floor and bolted. The door slammed. Silence. I stared at him, conflicted. Did I stir up trouble? Trouble, he tapped my nose. The only fact here is you're my girlfriend. I merely stated the truth. Whether she accepts it is her problem. Sounds simple, I knew better. Someone like Vivian doesn't shrug off humiliation. Sure enough, a few days later the studio was hit. I'd landed a commercial illustration gig. Client loved the draft, wired a deposit. Day before delivery, my computer caught a virus. Every file corrupted, irretrievable. Even the backups. Nights of work gone. Client breathing down my neck. I panicked, on the verge of tears. Adrian strode in, took one look at my red eyes, asked nothing. He flipped open the laptop, studied it, dialed. Find who tampered with the studio's security system now. Voice glacial, storm rolling in. He hung up, hugged me close. Don't be scared. I've got you. Half an hour later his phone buzzed. I caught only fragments. Vivian, hacker. As expected. He ended the call, expression dark. He stroked my head. Take a break. Leave the rest to me. I'll square things with the client. As for the culprit, a flicker of savagery crossed his eyes. I warned them, in my world you pay back double. I had no idea how Adrian had handled it. All I knew was that the next morning the client called and said it was no problem. They were happy to give me another week. Their attitude was unbelievably accommodating. As for Vivian's fate, I heard it from Adrian's childhood friends group chat. Word was that a crucial overseas project of the Lang Group had suddenly been exposed for a massive contract loophole. The deal collapsed overnight, and the company's stock nosedived. The leak came from a tiny media outlet no one had ever heard of. Behind the scenes, Adrian was pulling the strings. The Lang family was in complete chaos. Vivian was grounded by her father, confined to the house, not allowed to go anywhere. Reading those messages left me stunned. This was Adrian's method. No fuss, no noise, just one lethal strike. He never lays a hand on women, but he has ways to make you suffer worse than death. I suddenly felt a wave of relief. Thank heavens I'm on his side. That night when Adrian came home, he looked exactly the same as always. Without a word, he cooked my favorite sweet and sour ribs. As we ate, I couldn't help asking, Vivian, is she okay? Adrian placed a rib in my bowl and said coolly, she won't die. Just a lesson to make her remember. A reminder that no one touches what's mine. Watching him, my heart felt warm. Being shielded so completely, there's no better feeling. Adrian. Thank you. He laughed, pinched my cheek. Silly girl thanking me? If you really want to show gratitude, how about something more practical? The glint in his eyes turned wicked. My face flamed. I lowered my head and pretended to eat. After dinner, he tugged me into his private study. The room is huge. One entire wall is lined with books. Opposite hangs a painting, the one I gave him senior year of high school. The boy in it wears a white shirt, bathed in sunlight, smiling so brightly I could almost hear it. I walked over and brushed the frame gently. 10 years. The boy on the canvas has shed his youth, grown composed, restrained, more magnetic than ever. And the girl who painted him is finally standing at his side. What are you looking at? Adrian wrapped his arms around me from behind, chin resting in the hollow of my neck. Warm breath tickled my ear. Looking at my youth, I whispered. Your youth, he chuckled, was mine too. He turned me to face him. Mia, paint me a picture. Right now. Right now. He led me to a huge easel where a blank canvas waited. Paint me, he said. Clothed or unclothed. Don't ask me what short-circuited in my brain. The sentence just slipped out. Regret hit instantly. Adrian froze, then ink-dark amusement spread through his eyes. Oh! His brow lifted, voice low and sexy. So our Mia likes a little thrill. Since you insist. Leisurely, he began undoing his shirt buttons. 1, 2, revealing sculpted collarbones, solid chest. My face exploded in heat. I was joking. Put it back on. Too late. He curved his lips in a devil's smile. Tease and run? Bad habit. Today you're paying double. The study lamp glowed honey yellow, gilding Adrian in soft light. He really stripped. Stood bare-chested before me. His build is perfect. Not the exaggerated bulk of a gym rat, but precisely carved power. Wide shoulders, narrow hips, abs in sharp relief. A clean Apollo's belt diving down. I didn't dare look lower. My nose felt suspiciously hot. Why aren't you drawing? He watched my fluster with enjoyment. The model's ready. Why is my personal artist shy? My brush hand trembled. How am I supposed to draw? This isn't art class, it's an open-air seduction. Adrian, be serious. I tried to sound stern. I'm very serious, he said, innocent. You asked for nude. I had no defense. I really put my foot in it. Start sketching, he urged, or I'll change poses. He shifted, lounging back against the desk, legs crossed, one hand draped along the edge. Eyes lazy, lethal magnetism. Walking hormones on live display. I inhaled sharply and lectured myself. Mia, you're a professional. Just a life model, nothing more. I raised the brush and began blocking shapes. But my heart rate refused to settle. My gaze kept sliding over him, collarbones, chest, abs, my head filling with static. The more I drew, the hotter my cheeks burned. Adrian watched, then chuckled. Mia, I didn't lift my eyes. You're blushing. It's hot. I insisted. Is that so? He drawled. Then let me cool you down. Before I could process, he stepped in. He took the brush from my hand and tossed it aside. Then bent and kissed me. He coaxed my lips open, patient, guiding. My brain surrendered, sank into the gentle trap he wove. He lifted me onto the broad desk. Papers skidded to the floor. Braced on either side, he gazed down, eyes thick with emotion. Mia, his voice was wrecked. I love you. Tears pricked. I looped my arms around his neck and met his kiss. Adrian, I answered, I love you too. Tonight, neither of us would sleep. I owed him, and tonight I would pay in full. I woke the next morning in Adrian's bed. Every muscle felt run over by a truck. I shifted. He instantly tugged me closer, kissing my forehead. Awake! Morning roughness, ridiculously sexy. I grumbled into his chest, unwilling to move. Memories replayed. Study, living room, bedroom. The man is an insatiable animal. My waist might be permanently broken. Adrian, are you a dog? I accused into his skin. He laughed, chest vibrating. Didn't you confirm that last night? Me. Jerk. I shut my eyes, determined to sleep. He wouldn't let me, fingers wandering. It's early. Want an encore? I jerked fully awake. No. Another round and I'd be bedridden. Seeing my terror, he laughed harder. Kidding. He tapped my nose. Up. I want to show you something. He hauled me out of bed, pulled his white shirt over me, and led me bare-legged to my art studio. An enormous easel stood draped in white. What is it? I asked. A gift. He whisked the cloth away. Beneath lay a finished oil painting. The girl on the canvas was me. I froze. You painted this? I stared, disbelieving. I never knew Adrian could paint. He hugged me from behind, bit by bit over many years. During all the time you didn't know, I kept outlining you, wondering when I could finally hand it to you in person. Tears blurred my sight. I rose on tiptoe and kissed him. Adrian, I said, this is the best gift I've ever received. He deepened the kiss, answering softly. My life's luck must have been spent meeting him. What happens next, I don't know. I only know every future canvas of mine will hold him, and his life will never again be without me. He bent to my ear and whispered, Mia, my painting is missing something. What? He scooped me up and carried me toward the studio's daybed, fox grin in place. A permanent mistress.